I would be stagnant in a certain step or a certain project or a certain whatever it was, because I felt like it's not good enough. Like I need it to be that extra step better. I look at life in a way of what's the best way that I can help the most amount of people. And so I think we just need to scratch that itch of just things that we don't necessarily want to do, but we should, you know? So thank you guys for joining me in this process and just allowing me to share and do something that I've always wanted to do. So thank you. Hello, my name is Lynn Omandi, and you're listening to the ALL LYNN Podcast. Thanks for listening. This episode is just about dropping some tidbits from a book, Hidden Potential by Adam Grant, that I've been reading. I've been absolutely loving, and I want to share some of the tips that I've learned with you guys. And I started reading it at a time in my life where I really needed it the most, which was just like starting new things, being in a new environment, and meeting new people, and just doing the thing, right? And I talked about that in the last episode that I had by myself, of just getting it done, doing the thing. But I want to dig a little bit deeper, because there's a few things that have always kind of kept me in loops, and I'm finally getting out of them, and I want to share them with you as well. And this book highlights them so greatly. So first thing being, I used to call myself a perfectionist. I felt like everything that I did had to be perfect, and it became such a downfall for myself, because I would be stagnant in a certain step or a certain project or a certain whatever it was, because I felt like it's not good enough. Like I need it to be that extra step better. And then obviously in prioritizing whatever it is that I was trying to make perfect, I was neglecting other things that I really cared about as well, and other things that I needed to do, other responsibilities. And this book talks about how being able to see growth in doing something wrong, in the imperfections. So let's get a little bit deeper. So, for example, let's say I have a task to do and it's not quite perfect. It's something that takes a long time, and I'm just not getting it perfect yet. I think a lot of times myself, and other people would just continue like beating it until you get it as close to perfect as possible, which by that point, there's already resentment for the project. There's just a lot like of negative feelings attached to it at that point. And this book is talking about learning to realize the imperfections that you're okay with, because nothing will ever be perfect. And that's a whole thing of growth, is when you see something that's imperfect, instead of trying to just turn it into this perfect thing, allow it to be what it is and move on to the next step. Otherwise, you're always going to be stuck in that space of this isn't perfect and I need to do this, I need to do that. And it was also explaining how in learning, you have to do the thing. A lot of times, as I said, as a perfectionist, as a previous perfectionist, I'm no longer claiming it. I would always need a plan to be as perfect as possible, to make as much sense as possible. Otherwise, I'm not getting started. And even in getting started, as soon as something was off, it was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, it already felt like failure. It already felt like I was getting one step closer to failure. And it should be the complete opposite. It should be that when you notice that something's not going the way that you had premeditated, or that you had thought it would go, then that's just a sign that you're getting closer to figuring out what it is that you need to do, to achieving that goal, to reaching that level of success, whatever it may be. And in a conversation that I had with someone recently, we were talking about how she got to where she was, and was it this narrow path, which of course it never is. Like, for as many people as you speak to, you always realize that it's never this is what I'm going to be, and that's the way I went, and everything was perfect, and the rest was history. Like, there's bumps and some bruises sometimes along the way. And I think understanding that would really allow us to give ourselves more compassion and understanding. And I think that word was just so helpful for me to see it from that perspective, because it just made me realize that in looking at imperfections and looking at bits of stumbles along the process and looking at them as a sign of growth instead of as a sign of failure, you're much more able and willing to continue to create something from those imperfections, to improve them, to progress. And on the other hand, when we just look at it as like, oh, roadblock, let's just turn back, you just become stagnant. You're never going to reach that next step. And you have to do things that you've never done before to be able to reach that next step. If you had already done them, you wouldn't be where you are today. So I think just finding comfort, in understanding that the road is never perfect. So trying to seek this perfection is just doing yourself a disservice. And the process is perfect. It's the way that it's supposed to be for a reason. You learn through the way. And I think my favorite thing about growth, about going through a process and trying to reach that other side, is the character skills that you develop. I think if everything was perfect, if something was handed to you, and so imagine you work so hard to buy yourself this gift that you've always wanted. For me, it would be perfume. But imagine you work so hard to buy yourself that Maison Baccarat Rouge, Maison Francis Baccarat Rouge, or whatever it is, Delina. Okay, I digress. So in working so hard to get to that purchase and be able to see this thing that you work so hard for in your face, you appreciate it more knowing that you went through this, and that to get to it. And that doesn't mean that something is only good if you work harder, but there is a level of self-esteem, of confidence, of proudness, like positive pride that you receive when you get something from hard work instead of when it's just handed to you. It doesn't mean that if something's handed to you that you can't appreciate it, but it just means that in hard work, there's a lot of diamonds that are built. There's a lot of what's that quote? Like pressure makes diamonds. Absolutely. And I just think that we need to romanticize that more. I think we need to romanticize the process and really enjoy doing what you're doing. So I thought that was really cool. Something else that the book was talking about was how growth is about how well you are at learning something instead of just being able to do it or whatever it is. Just the process of learning it and the process of knowing, okay, this part's not perfect, but I'm going to focus on this because this will bring me more rewards. Just that in itself shows growth. And I think as we grow up and we have all these different experiences and mess ups and all these things, we get to learn that more. We get to learn the things that we can let go of and not care about. You know, when we're young, let's say high school, middle school, there's just a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama with friends, with whatever it is, parents, and etc. And then you grow up and you're like, none of that mattered. I think it's the same thing when it comes to growth. I think it's the same thing when it comes to, let's say, building a business. In the beginning, you're focused on all these little nitpicky things. And then you build this baby and you're like, those things were not what was going to make or break this. So I think that's really special to look at it that way. The book also talks about being proactive about seeking new knowledge and being able to search for it, not just let it come to you. And when it does come to you, when you do finally seek it, than having a growth mindset instead of an ego mindset. I think a lot of times when we're learning, it feels uncomfortable to not know something. And we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes in hearing something from someone that has been through it, is more experienced, whatever it is. And we're like, yeah, okay, like I get it. Like I know my life, you don't know me. Like, we have all these like walls built up and it's just stunting your growth. Why not just listen? And that doesn't mean that whoever it is that's credible or whoever it is that cares for you that's giving this advice or just whoever it is, whether you heard it from Instagram or a parent or friends, it doesn't mean that you believe every single thing that they say or that they know it all. We are all living this life. We're all just grown up children. And yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to take every single thing that they say. But what it does mean is you can look at it from a holistic perspective, taking away emotion and just learn from it. And that's something that I've definitely like nurtured within myself, of being able to put ego aside and listen, even if let's say I don't like the person. That doesn't mean that everything that is going to come out of their mouth is wrong. Or let's say I'm mad at the person. Again, doesn't mean that everything that comes out of their mouth is wrong. So just understanding that you can still grow and learn and improve even from the people that you least expect or from the people that make you feel like, oh, I don't want to listen. Don't stunt your growth. Don't get in the way of your own growth, because if you don't listen, they don't get hurt from that. Nothing impacts them when you don't listen. It only impacts you. So that's something really important to learn. The book also talks about being a sponge, a sea sponge, and being able to take in good nutrients and release them into the world, right? So filtering in which advice you take in, not from ego, but just from understanding, is this something that truly relates to me, that resonates with me, that is true for my life, ego aside? Or is this, just something that they're projecting? Is it something that just doesn't apply to me, whatever it may be? And being able to take in the good nutrients, the good advice and lessons and all those things, and teach them and release them and share them with people. And I think that's so good. From this book, right, I'm only speaking about certain things that stood out to me, but they're the things that resonated with me. They're the things that I needed to listen to, read, that they're the things that I needed to reflect on. And it doesn't mean that there's not some things in the book that I may not agree with, but from the things that I do agree with, from the things that I do like and that do apply to myself, I'm sharing it with you all because I think that it will apply to many of you as well. And I mean, you don't have to listen to me either, but I think that's really important to think about it in that way of being a sea sponge, not just taking everything in, but taking the important things in and releasing them back out into the world. I think that's what we're called to do as Christians as well. Taking in the word of God, learning from our own experiences, our testimony, and being able to share that with others. If you are the wisest person in the world, if you are the most intelligent, brilliant person in the world, and all you do is just keep it in here, what's the point? I just think I look at life in a way of what's the best way that I can help the most amount of people? And releasing knowledge, wisdom, I think that goes a long way. And I think that's why I'm super into mentorship, into coaching. All those things are the best way to show that you're applying what you've learned and you're instilling it in other people, and they're going to instill it in other people. It just makes the world a better place. So another part of the book speaks about being able to enjoy the things that you do, right? So often what we do is you have this long list of tasks and you just decide, this is the one I want to do, that I don't want to do. And the one you don't want to do, you like throw off for a long time. And you can do this one over and over and over again. And what happens, what the result of that is we're not learning, we're not growing. You're doing the thing you're good at. You're doing the thing that you enjoy doing. And you're just completely neglecting this other thing. And I think a lot of times we realize when we do finally do that thing, one, it was not that hard. We could have done it a long time ago. And two, we learned something new from that as well. It's better to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, put yourself in positions of things that you don't necessarily like, and learn from them. I think if you're someone that's an introvert, for example, challenge yourself to go to a networking event. You can stand in the corner for the first one. And then the second one, you can have, maybe 2 conversations, little conversations, and just move on from there. I think when we only focus on the things that we're comfortable with, it's just another way for us to be stagnant. It's another way where we're not challenging ourselves to be better. We're just staying at this level. And you think that that makes you happy, but over time, you lack confidence, you lack self-esteem, you lack the ability and willingness and adaptability to be able to be in new environments and new situations with new people. And so I think we just need to scratch that itch of just things that we don't necessarily want to do, but we should, And the book talks about the best way to do that is instead of looking at it as practice, looking at it as play, and not just something. It explained the difference between making a task play and gamifying it. Gamifying it would be more, you still don't want to do it. You're just giving yourself a reward after doing it, basically. But making it play, you're actually enjoying doing it as you're doing it. And that's something that I definitely want to implement. I read about that this week, and I'm going to be implementing it like through and through for the rest of the month, because when I enjoy doing something, I'm so good at it. It doesn't feel like work. That's why usually I like to do work that doesn't feel like work. Family movement, fierce styles, like just things where I'm happy to do the thing. But even within those things, there's tasks that you're like, I don't want to do. And in making it, I could see the benefit of making it seem like play so that you're able to actually enjoy it during the process. And I just think it would make us happier. The book talks about people that have to spend long hours doing something that they don't want to do are obviously miserable. And people that spend the same amount of hours doing something that is still work, but something that they enjoy doing, they're happy. It doesn't feel, both people are exhausted at the end of the day, but one just feels happier and excited for the next step. It doesn't feel like this dread of, tomorrow I have to do this again. And I think if you're in a position where you're either in a career that you're not completely satisfied with, or there's just certain things in your life, projects or whatever it is, that you need to do, but you're not necessarily excited about, I think just tapping into making it play. Find a way to make it exciting. Find a way to make it enjoyable, not just at the end of when you do it, of, after I finish this, I'll buy this for myself, because while you're doing it, you still will not enjoy. Make it exciting while you're doing it. And if I had examples right now, I would definitely share. I don't. I think it just depends on the circumstance. And lastly, something that I loved that the book talked about is striving for harmonious passion, striving for something which ties into what I was just saying, striving for something that you're excited about, that you're passionate about, where you're taking joy in the process instead of like thinking about the outcome. It's not about, I'm going to be a nurse because I want to make over $100,000 a year. It's, I want to be a nurse because every day I get to go into the room and see patients and help them in some way. And apply that in whichever way resonates with you. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I'm excited for the upcoming podcast. And thank you guys for all the support. I really appreciate all the love and support and comments that I've been receiving. It really like keeps me going. I wish you guys could see the backside. Like there's definitely been some bumps, but we get over them. And I'm learning. This is my first time just releasing, and it's not my last, because future seasons, like this is me kind of like churning the gears. If you've noticed, I've not been consistent weekly. What I envisioned I would do has not been what I've been doing for different reasons, but I'm allowing myself to just enjoy the process and learn and grow through it so that this can just slowly but surely become exactly what I envision it to be. So thank you guys for joining me in this process and just allowing me to share and do something that I've always wanted to do. So thank you. Thanks for all the support. And I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.